professional guide to retirement presentation, and Nicole is going to walk us through some items that we all should consider. Nicole has been in the industry for over 25 years. She has her BA in Business Administration along with her Series 7 and 63. She covers parts of North Carolina, all of South Carolina, and Georgia, ex-Atlanta. Her role includes keeping her clients like SGL Wealth Management up to date on markets and economies around the world, sharing best ideas, solutions, and current positioning ideas. Nicole and her family reside in Chapin, South Carolina, along with their 3 dogs and 2 chinchillas. Her eldest daughter is attending SCAD down in Savannah, and her youngest daughter now attends a hockey boarding school in Cleveland, Ohio. Welcome, Nicole, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Toby, and such a wonderful introduction. I sound fabulous. And happy Friday to everyone. We're so happy to have you joining us here today. And I'm definitely not going to walk through all 50 slides of the Guide to Retirement, but just a couple of items that we thought were really important, and a couple of slides to correspond with those topics. So I thought I'd jump right in and just talk about the importance of knowing your number. And we've got a couple of different slides in here that we like to lovingly refer to as heart attack slides. But we can see officially they are called retirement savings checkpoints. And I'm going to start on page 12, but there is also page 11 with just different current household incomes along the top. This is a simple Monte Carlo. The model assumptions are on the right-hand side. Gross savings of about 10%, pre-retirement, target date fund, inflation at 2.5, retirement age of 65, and years in retirement, planning for 35 years. And how you use this chart is you find your age along the left-hand side and then your current household income along the top. So for example, if you are a 50-year-old with a household income of $200,000 currently, you should already have about $775,000 put away for retirement. If not, you are behind. And of course, this is encompassing all of your current accounts. So this number can be shocking, but it is important to understand that all of us are living longer, probably longer than we all think we will. And we do need to plan on those 35 years in retirement. Also, oftentimes, the average retirement age is not 65 in this country. It's actually can be 62 due to certain circumstances that we find are common, in that, you know, some folks can just afford to retire early. Others might become sick or disabled, or maybe you have to stop working early to care for a spouse or another family member. So just important to stay on top of this. If you are behind on slide 14, we can see some model assumptions here, or if you started later, saving in life, you can again use this slide, finding your current age along the left-hand side, your current household income along the top. So for example, again, a 50-year-old with the current household income of $200,000 with zero saved for retirement at this time needs to save about 41% every year until retirement to get caught up. So just important to know that number, and of course to work with your team here to make sure you are on track for your retirement. Another discussion topic that we thought would be important to cover is long-term impacts of Social Security timing, or i.e., do I take it early? Do I take it at retirement, or do I wait? Slide 44 in our Guide to Retirement just shows some of these Social Security timing trade-offs, as we like to call this slide. So if we have a birth year of 1960 or later, our actual full retirement age is now 67. So we can see you would get 100% of your benefit retiring at that age. If you take it early, That could take you down, say you retire at 62 for one of the aforementioned reasons. That can take your Social Security benefit down to 70% of what you have earned. Meanwhile, if you perhaps delay it until age 70, then you will get 124% of what you have earned. And then if your birth year is prior to 1960, we've got a little chart at the bottom that just shows your birth year and then your full retirement age. And then on slide 45, just debunking a few Social Security solvency myths. Myth number one, younger workers will get nothing from Social Security. It is actually 81% funded up through 2034 and 72% funded up through 2099 without any changes. Congress still has time to act on all of this, but obviously not going to get nothing. Myth number two, I should take my benefit now because it might be cut later. Percentage of eligible voters who vote by age in 2024, and you can see still the largest voting block is those that are 65 or older, with the second largest block being those in pre-retirement 45 to 64. So highly unlikely that with those ages around those large voting blocks that the benefit is going to get cut by Congress. Just not something that gets them reelected going forward. The third topic we thought we would talk a little bit about is spending volatility and some risks around spending in retirement. So slide 30 in our guide to retirement is one that we like to use there. It just shows how changes in spending usually goes down in retirement, and we can see on this chart, our highest spending tends to be at midlife. I am in that bucket right now with 2 kids in school. And then we can see how the changes spend going forward. Interestingly enough, a lot of us are not paying off our mortgages like we used to. So you can see mortgage still remains a big block here, and that is the space here in gray. Some things that tend to go down would be transportation, things that tend to go up in retirement, charity and gifts, as well as healthcare. So just some things to consider as changing does spend as we head into retirement. On slide 31, we can see spending fluctuates more than 20% per year for a significant number of retirees. So even though spending trends decrease, after that midlife period, there is significant variation from year to year for many retirees. So we can see 60% or 6 out of 10 new retirees experience spending volatility in the first 3 years of retirement. And that can continue throughout retirement, with more than half of those ages 75 to 80 experiencing spending volatility from year to year. And that could be coming from a health concern. So maybe that's something to talk about with the team in terms of long-term care or disability insurance, and making sure we have some money put away for that, knowing that could possibly impact us. And then on slide 33 of our guide to retirement, we can see here projected outcomes versus historical experience in terms of withdrawal rates. We've a lot of us heard of this 4% rule, and that has been known to be the maximum initial withdrawal percentage, which gives us a higher likelihood of not running out of money after 30 years. We do encourage investors and retirees that you may need to be flexible with this. Maybe in years where the market is just having a great year, maybe you have some excess in the account that you might be able to take that year. In years where the market is really volatile, or maybe you've had something come up, maybe you take out less that year. So we believe in having a more dynamic withdrawal and being flexible with that. And then the fourth topic, advantages of having a workplace retirement plan. And the government and the states have been doing a lot around this, and especially working with small businesses and passing laws in various states where even small businesses now need to be offering a retirement plan to their retirees or their employees. And this just shows, again, additional funds at retirement. And so it's a big deal to, invest early and invest consistently. Adding 1% to your contributions each year can make a huge difference. And of course, it is important to invest consistently. So that is what this chart on slide 16 is showing us. Here is a really good example of the benefits of auto escalation. So I hear a lot of times clients, when they start a new job, they will absolutely do a 3% contribution that gets them the full employer match. And we definitely encourage that. But oftentimes we set that and then we forget it. So it is also important to go in there and set up a 1% auto escalation if that is part of your plan, or go in manually and escalate that by 1% every year until you get up to that 10% contribution. And this shows that just doing a consistent 3% contribution in blue and where that takes us, look at the difference in just adding that 1% extra annually until you get up to that 10%. It almost gets you the same result as adding a consistent 10% contribution right off the bat. And then finally on slide 10, retirement solutions for small business owners. It's something, again, some key considerations, as many states have started a retirement savings mandate. So it's very important to any small business owners out there to make sure you know if that is something that your state is requiring now. Will the business, contribute to the employee count? What costs and administrative responsibilities to expect? What available tax credits to consider? And then, do you want a ready to use or customizable solution? And then the bottom of this chart shows up the different types of retirement plans that are available for small business. 401k allows the employer and employee contributions. A solo 401k is designed for businesses with just one employee and a spouse. And then a SEP, which is another type of IRA, is suited for businesses offering benefits to employees and owners with contributions funded exclusively by the employer. So a lot of variety out there, and very important, again, for small businesses to recognize that there's been a lot of work around this and you might be required to start offering this. So important to be in the know on that. So we covered about 10 slides here today, touching on those 4 important topics. I'm just going to pause for a moment here and see if we've got any questions out there. And Patty and Toby can manage that. And if you just raise your hand, they can take you off mute and you can ask your question.
Yeah, if anyone has a question, you should be able to simply unmute your mic and go ahead and ask your question. So we'll pause and see if anyone's got any questions.
While we're waiting on questions, I'm just going to go back to perhaps one of my favorite slides in this guide. And we'll just end it here if there aren't any other questions. We call this a retirement equation. All of these bubbles go into our retirement. We can see the 2 green bubbles. We have some control over our employment earnings, how long we work. We have some control over longevity. Are we taking care of ourselves? Or are we eating bacon every day? some control because especially when it comes to longevity, a lot of that has to do with hereditary traits that may be passed down to you. We can see the two blue bubbles are 100% out of our control. We cannot control markets, nor can we control tax or benefit policy. So while it's interesting to follow those, really cannot make decisions based off of that because we can't control it. The great news is the two purple circles, we have 100% control over how much we save versus spend and what our asset allocation and what type of accounts we own. And if we get those two purple circles right, we make it to our goal of retirement, which always gives me hope because, again, those are the items that we have 100% control over. Doesn't look like we have any questions, Toby.
Perfect. I will just reiterate that last slide you showed is always my favorite slide in that deck. I love that slide and I love talking about it with clients. So that's a great one to end on. So all right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us. Thanks for everyone that tuned in, and hope you can get out, enjoy this Georgia sunshine or wherever you are, and have a great weekend. Thank you.